Like sniper, he knock you off from a distance. Big foe with no foe. I'm balling just like a piston. We get the damn. Heard it's another man down in my city. Brody Chopper got a red dot and some titties. I ain't with the drama. I'm just trying to touch a milli. I'm a addy dropper. Cause on my mama we get busy. It's another man down in my city. Brody Chopper got a red dot and some titties. I ain't with the drama. I'm just trying to touch a milli. I'm a addy dropper. Cause on my mama we get busy. Plug pull up with the pack and I ain't even busted down. Couple minutes on my phone. I promise I'm gonna get it gone. I stay solid. I get caught. I'm fighting till they sit me down. You get caught. You singing like a nigga in the studio. Brody sold the whip for 1,000 cause we just slid in it. I really make a house call. Fuck if your kids in it. Been through some shit that's why my heart too froze. You ain't living what you rapping in a studio. You get your noodle blown. Fucking with the opposition. My brother making decisions on anybody that's dissing. With the quickness I'ma make a decision. I'm on a mission. You tripping thinking we missing. I'm shooting up with precision. Red beam on the barrel to give myself some assistance. My brother come through like sniper. He knock you off from a distance. Big foe with no foe. I'm balling just like a piston.
What's up, everybody? This is the El Nino Podcast. I'm Eladio Nino, and this is Real Everyday People. So I know I've been absent for a couple weeks. Unfortunately, Memorial Day weekend, my basement flooded. It's been a headache, but back in motion, restored everything. So I'm definitely getting back on track with everything. So thank you for everybody who's joining us live or for those who are going to watch it afterwards. Much love to everybody. Thank you for all the love and support. I appreciate you guys. You know, this week has been, really bittersweet. Last week, in our community, somebody was killed over there on Beard in Lisbon. My prayers go out to the family of Javier. My prayers to you. We got to stop the violence, man. We got to stop the killing. There has to be other ways to be able to deal, with disagreements and things like that, man, because, we owe it to ourselves to do better. I'm tired of, people leaving their kids behind, leaving their families behind, and it's just not fair to them. And it's not fair to you, We have to really change our mindset and do better because we're capable of it, But, I'm really excited today. I have an awesome guest. She has a great story to share, a lot of information to give. And, I'm really excited about it. So without any further ado, we got Laura Chavez in the house.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes. She's the Southwest Detroit Business Association president and CCO. I'm CEO. And she's just everywhere I go, she's there. She's taking care of business. Mm-hmm. And what is it, 70 years? You're the first Latina in 70 years to be the president and CCO?
Just about 70 years, but first Latina to run the show. Prior to that, there was a long executive director. And I don't ever discredit or think that, they didn't do work to get us there, because obviously we wouldn't have the legacy that we have if they wouldn't have. But, it was run for a very long time, about 35 years, by Kathy Windler, followed by Rob DeWalsh, who's now the owner of El Central newspaper. Okay. And then there was some transition in between that. And then I came aboard in November of 2022, but been doing the work of the CEO since that point, and super happy to have this seat. And I don't take it lightly, right? Because there's so many different things that we need to advocate for our community. Growing up in Southwest Detroit, I know what it's like I refer to myself as the daughter that Southwest Detroit raised, because without just amazing people and community and even some of the businesses, they just were not going to allow me to just kind of go by the wayside. And so I have this, strong conviction, and I say, I unapologetically demand what our community is entitled to, and so I work really hard to make sure that, I don't just try to show up to a place. I show up, I stand up, and I speak up, and I'm constantly advocating, and sometimes people don't like to hear the truth, and the truth is that our community has been not given the resources that were essential for us to be successful. But then in addition to that, you people like to use the successes that we have in our community and tout them as their own when it's convenient. And so I definitely call people out on a regular basis. So yeah.
Hey, it's dope. I went away for 17 years, and when I came back, like, society was so much different. and better in so many ways. But more so than anything, I love to see that women had stepped up. You know what I'm saying? In every way. And it's women like you who nurture our community. You know what I'm saying? And I came home and it was like women were just running the world. They were just part of everything. They were owning businesses, you know, they're supervisors, they're managers, like they're doing everything. And I loved it, you know, and I love to see it, you know, being done because, you know, women are very intelligent. They're very capable. And I mean, you know, women can do things that men cannot do.
We give life.
You know what I'm saying? Absolutely.
we carry a baby. Yeah. We give life. But there have been a lot of legacy Latinas in Southwest Detroit for a very long time. And so I pay homage to them for everything that they've done. And some of them are still in my life today. And I'm grateful to the work that they've done and the leadership that they've shown, but also the fact that they've opened the door for us as the next generation to come through and be able to do things a little bit different. And I've had a lot of them tell me, you know, we could have done things a little bit differently and things would have been different if we would have, but there were so few of us, right? But not anymore. You know, we're in full force and we're here to definitely do the work that needs to be done. And I love it because I feel so empowered and it is a sisterhood, you know, and there's so many of us that are working together to accomplish just amazing things. Yeah.
I just, for me, it's like, you know, just women just running everything. I feel like they have a certain type of intelligence, you know, very, very vocal on things. Like you said, you call people out, you know, where growing up before, you know, everybody kind of like swept things under the rug or, you know, just didn't discuss things, didn't talk about things. Because, you know, I came from an era where we weren't allowed to ask questions. We weren't allowed to inquire. We weren't allowed to question adults about anything. It was just, you know, do as I say, not as I do. And, you know, and today it's like, yeah, we want answers. We want to know why things are this way. And, you know, we want what we got coming. But it just seems like that's always been the culture of Southwest is, you know, like they say, we get it how we live. You know, and we never really had too many resources. We never had people reaching out to us with, you know, any type of, you know, programs and, you know, just anything that benefited us or uplifted us, you know, even like, you know, just in Detroit in general, it just seemed like we were just segregated from everybody else and we just had to really make our own way.
Yeah, I think that the Latino community, that a lot of people use the word resilient. And I can see where they come with that word that we're resilient, but if we didn't have to always fight, we wouldn't need to be resilient, right? And so we now embrace that term of resiliency, but the reality is if we had the resources that a lot of other communities had, we wouldn't have to be resilient, you know, and our community, we built this city. You know, my great grandfather came here in 1918 by way of the Michigan Central train station. He helped build the Ambassador Bridge. He helped rebuild the Belle Isle Bridge, you know? And so Mexicanos, we built pyramids that are still standing, you know? And no one questions how they were made. And the thing is that we continue to be builders and we continue to be hard workers and loyal and, you know, and we do things because of family, right? And loyalty and commitment. And we want our community to be reflective of the things that we hold near and dear and value to our hearts. And I think that Southwest Detroit is a true testament of that. And when everyone was leaving the city of Detroit, you know, we weren't. Mexicanos stayed there, and it's now much more than Mexicanos. You know, we have a wide array of different ethnicities in Southwest Detroit, and I love it, right?
Because I do too. I love the food,
yeah,
the smells, the
and
cultures,
the
everything.
sounds, and the different, you know, verbiage that's used, and then that, you know, extra attitude that's here and there, and I'm like, okay, I see you,
the
but
music, everything.
I love it, and it makes me so proud to be Latina, but it makes me so proud to have my, you know, Afro-Latino sisters and brothers near me, or, you know, talk to my, you know, Peruvian or El Salvadorian or Dominican. And I'm like, wow, this is so great. Like, this is truly beautiful. Like, it is beautiful, and we're all living together. And so to me, I'm just, you know, I'm honestly grateful to have been raised in Southwest Detroit. And I know not a lot of people would say that, but I truly believe that the lessons and the experiences that I had as a young person shaped me for the position that I have now as president and CEO, because if you knew all the battles that I fought, and I still look like this, like whatever's coming, this is just my armor, you know.
Yeah.
So the heart that's in here, it's the heart of a warrior, you know. And so for me, you know, when I go in a boardroom and I have somebody tell me, you know, do we really need to focus on equity and diversity? And I think to myself, you have no clue what it's taken for me to get this seat, right? For me to be at this exact same table that you're at, that you probably got because your dad was this, you know? And so all the fights and all the battles that I had to win to be able to be here and not be given anything, you know? And so, yes, when those conversations happen, I'm unapologetic with mine, you know, and I definitely tell my story a lot more than I used to, but I also think that it's a very important story to tell, because then people understand why it is that I advocate so hard. And so some people have said, oh, Laura's complaining about this, or no, I'm advocating. And had we had more advocates, then we wouldn't be in the situation that we find ourselves. And the reality is I think that I have a lot of support. And so when I do the things that I do, it's not me. It's not just me. I'm speaking for 1,400 businesses in Southwest Detroit.
Wow.
So I got my squad behind me that's about to back me up, you know. And then I got other people, other community development organizers that say, like, we support Laura. We stand with Laura, you know. And we probably should have done that before, but we got Laura, so we're good. And now I'm going to stand with her, and I'm going to stand shoulder to shoulder and make sure that everyone knows that we're unified in what she's saying. So I'm super appreciative of that. And, you know, I think that a lot of people don't realize that you have to also see that we're all human. So no one's perfect. And so sometimes when I advocate and I point something out, you know, the thing is that it's not because I'm critiquing. I always come with a solution. So if I find something, I'm not here just to give you the negative. I got an idea, and this might not work all the way, but here's, at least I'm coming with a solution, you know. I'm trying to resolve these long-term systemic problems that have happened in our community. And so for me, it's very intentional, the conversations that I have. And I look forward to doing this for a very, very long time. I love my job. I truly love my job. I work 7 days a week and sometimes 18 hours a day. If you ask me to do something, I'm going to look at my calendar and I'm going to try my best to make it there. You know, I show up for our community, but then I even ask to give me a seat at that table. I need to be on that board. I need to be over there. I need to be where the decisions are being made. I can work it out. We'll figure it out. We'll make it happen, you know. And for me, it's very, very, it's the work that needs to be done. And I'm still young, you know, I'm almost 50, but I'm still young. There's a lot in me to get done.
Got a lot of life in you.
That's right.
Sure.
And so I'm excited about what what the future holds for our community. And, you know, when I think about like the next 10, 15 years, you know, I hope that people will say, man, Laura Chavez really got some stuff done for us. So
no, you already are. You are already making it happen. You are already paving a way for people, you know. You just being a voice, being present, you know. And like you said, you know, I always tell my team members is like, anytime you come with a you know, with a complaint, make sure you bring a couple solutions with you as well, you know, because people get so accustomed to just complaining about things, this, that, and it's like, you know, think outside the box, you know, what are some solutions that you can bring to the table, you know, be a contributor, you know, don't just be a complainer, somebody who's always got a problem and an issue with everything, you know,
I think
and don't
that's
be
the
overcame
difference.
by the issues as well.
I think that's the difference between being an advocate and someone who does just complain, right? And so, anyone who advocates, you should already have a solution in your pocket. You know, you should already have, you know, it might not be what that other person wants to hear, and it might not be the full solution, but you got at least a framework to start with, you know. And so I think that that's a real big difference in community development and leadership as a whole, is that you have to really think about what do we really need. And so is this, what am I thinking about? What's going to be my ask when I come to this table? So if I'm going to bring like this water is too small, I need a 16 ounce, you know, what's going to be, so at least I'm saying what my next thing is going to be, you know, I'm not just going like this water is too small, you know. So you got to have like, what's your ask when you go to that table, you know, what are you actually asking for? What is it that you're advocating for, you know? And so it's not just about the item that you see right in front of you. It's what do you need to make yourself be successful or the community be successful? What's that ask?
But what about, like, there's so many people who are accustomed to not having anything. They don't even know what to ask for. They don't even know what they want, or they're just comfortable where they're at. And it's like, it's sad, it's unfortunate, but it's people like us that have to be able to push them, educate them, be examples for them, because a lot of us didn't have them resources. We weren't educated to economics. We didn't, nobody was talking about buying houses or ownership. Nobody ever talked about the future. Everything was like day to day. Everything was just surviving and getting through the day, know, and it did a huge disservice to our people and to our community, because
No doubt.
at our age right now, we're just learning about these types of things,
Yeah.
And that's the thing about successful people. They always plan and prepare for the future, and everything they do it for their kids, to have something to pass along to them,
A legacy. Yeah. I think that you're spot on with that. But I also think that everyone deserves a good quality of life, and so when we say, what do you need to provide a good quality of life? I need clean air in my lungs. I need fresh water to drink. I need a roof over my head. I need clothes to cover my body. And so when we're looking at basic essentials, do I have those basic essentials? So you start from there, right? And then education is really important, but not everyone is going to go to college. And sometimes those lessons that you learn in life, that you learn on the streets, or that you learn with your first employer, those are the lessons that you take with you all the way. I learned phenomenal lessons from my grandmother. My grandmother only went to third grade, but, so, I don't discredit to say, well, they didn't know, or they didn't have, the education or whatever. I said, because, those are great. And I did go to college, but that doesn't make me better than someone who didn't.
Where'd you go to college at?
Wayne State University. I earned my degree in bilingual bicultural education.
Okay.
I had a really great teacher in third grade. And from that point on, I said, I want to be just like Ms. Beavers at Ninus Elementary. And I wanted to help kids just like me.
So she inspired you like that, that you wanted to follow in her footsteps.
Yeah, I had an amazing teacher. She actually wasn't my teacher at the moment. We kind of had a little conversation before this, but I was put in special education, kindergarten, first grade, second, third, and I had gone through the foster care system up until that time. And so then when we reunited and I was in third grade in Detroit now, and in Southwest Detroit, there was a bilingual department, which wasn't in other places in Michigan. And so my first language is Spanish. And so entering into school in an area that doesn't have a bilingual department, they didn't know what to do with us. They didn't know what to do with myself and my sister and so on and so forth. So they would put you in special ed because they didn't have a bilingual department. And so when we came back to Southwest Detroit, that's the difference of having resources, right? Southwest Detroit did have a bilingual department. And so when I went to Ninus, I remember sitting in that classroom, and this was a teacher walking by, and she was not the bilingual teacher. She just happened to be the third grade teacher, and she said, that kid doesn't belong in there. That little girl doesn't belong in that class. And she came to our house, which was kitty corner from Ninus. And she, I remember her showing up and, wanting to teach me how to read, because I didn't know how to read, and my first book was Are You My Mother in third grade, which is definitely not the book you should be reading in third grade, but it was where I started from. And I remember my mom saying, "Ay, Laura, ¿por qué trajiste la maestra? Why is the teacher here? What did you do?" And I was like, she just really likes me, and she just wants to hang out with me.
Yeah.
But after learning how to read with Ms. Beavers, and she gave me her time. Like, it wasn't during normal school time. She would come to our house, or she would take her lunch break, and she would, see me on the playground, and she would help me. And fourth grade, they told my mom that I was considered gifted and talented, and they wanted to jump me from fourth grade to fifth grade. And my mom was really concerned that, it was a mistake, and she said, I don't want her to mess up. Like, she's now where she should be, and let's just keep her in her grade where she should be. But to go from being in that remedial class to now having the title that someone actually thought I was gifted and talented, like, that meant a lot to me.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Not having that self-esteem, I think, as a little person, in your formative years of school, and, being a foster child, not having your mom, and people don't understand, like children need love. And so, foster care is not, was not for me. And I'm not going to say it in general. I'm going to say for me and my siblings, it was a very traumatic experience. And so to have gone through 5 years of straight trauma, and then now have someone say, hey, you're gifted. Hey, you're talented. That truly meant something to me. And so
you were the oldest?
No, I'm the middle child.
You're the
I'm the
middle
middle child. Yeah,
child,
my
okay.
brother's the oldest, and my sister is a year younger than me. And it just, I always remember what she meant to me. And so when I graduated from Western, I invited her to my graduation, Miss Beavers.
Okay.
And when I graduated from college, I also invited her to my graduation. She had no children of her own, and she said she always remembered, seeing me in that special ed classroom and saying, I can't just walk by and not do anything. And she said, I knew that I could help you and get you out of that classroom. And, of course, and I'm so appreciative to that, I graduated from Western High School, and I started applying for scholarships, I think in 9th grade, because I knew we didn't have money. There was no, and I remember sitting at the kitchen table, and I telling my mom and her husband, I'm going to go to college. And I remember him, he was very, very crass, and him saying, you're stupid. Like, how do you think you're going to go to college? And I said, well, my brain, because I'm smart as hell, I'm about to go to college. Sure. And so I started to apply for scholarships in 9th grade, and I became the library assistant. And so Miss Williams would help me apply for scholarships because I knew I was college bound. And then I swam so I was a scholar athlete. And, I was all state champion in swimming, and I didn't start swimming till like 10th grade, Wow. And so I think about, resources, right? And going to school that had a pool. So now I have this skill that I could hone because it had a pool. Right. And I had resources being, let me go to the library and use those resources that are there. I'm going to say I was her assistant, but once I told her what I was going for, I never had to assist her with anything. She was like, I want you to go straight to that computer. I want you to start looking for scholarships. And so when I graduated from Western, I had the most scholarships of my graduating class. I never paid a dime for my, I was, but I didn't see it as that. Like I said it, I always thought that I got
You were just maximizing your potential.
Yeah.
Really,
I just got to do what I need to do. So I emancipated myself from my mother and her father at 15, and I had my own apartment in Southwest Detroit, and I worked for Dantle Furniture, full-time job. I worked 40 hours a week there, and I, was on the swim team at Western, and I, was a scholar athlete, so I graduated 7th in my class. But again, I had the most scholarships at that time, and, I worked really hard, and I got a scholarship for swimming as well as for my scholastics. And
for real? You can get a scholarship for swimming?
Well, you got to be good.
Okay, I'm about to say, can't just, backstroking and everything.
So, I was very good. And my coach had told me that if we had, the proper sponsors, that I could have been Olympic bound. I was that good. And, and I was a girl. And I remember getting in the pool and being, I was like 5'9" at Western as a girl, which nobody was not, it was not normal, right? And then I weighed like 120, a super skinny, I was super skinny stick, but I would get in that pool and, at the time you would swim against boys, and I remember boys would be muscular and, they thought they were the man, but in swimming, it's not about muscles, it's about technique and endurance and stamina and breathing. And, some guys are real quick and not being offensive, but they're not long, they can't they don't have the stamina. And so I ended up being really, really good at it. And I would remember, my first race, and my coach referred to me as olive oil because I would have my hair in my bun and I was super skinny, and I dominated. And, I had never swam like on a team before or anything, Mm-hmm. And so I remember the young man that swam against me, he was like embarrassed. He was like, I beat him by a whole pool length,
That's crazy. I didn't know that they would actually let men and women, or, boys and girls actually
back then
compete.
it was. And so, people don't understand that, swim is skill, and so it was really great. And I was very successful, but I say all that to say that I didn't want to lose my scholarship at Wayne State because if you don't, the transit system was not what it needed to be, especially back in the 90s.
Let me ask you this. How many of your techniques or skills that you learned from swimming did you apply in real life? Because like just playing sports in general, it teaches you things that give you life skills.
I love that
really
question.
Apply,
to
the rest of your life.
In 11th grade, I became the swim coach. I became the swim captain, right? And so our team was not large. but it taught me leadership skills, right? And also, because we weren't large, some of the girls, they had boyfriends, and I would go to the park and I'd be like, look, we got to swim, get your butt in this van. We're going to swim, and, and then also holding them accountable, right? There's 4 or 5 of us. We're swimming every single activity in a meet, so we got to be ready for this, So definitely leadership skills it taught me. And then that it's a team sport, and yes, you run an individual meet, but the reality is you win overall with all your scores that you've won in your meets or your different activities or your different rounds that you've swam. But I say all that to say the leadership skills was huge, but the accountability was also another piece. And then being a team player and understanding what that means to be a team player, that it's, it's not about you, it's about the team, and then being able to actually take critique, right? And I think that's a real skill that has to be honed, and, coming from a Latina household, let me tell you, we got critiqued all day. But I say that to say, to be able to take constructive criticism, so to have a coach and say, you're doing a really good job, but your stroke could be stronger if you did this. Or how about, your kick would be stronger if you did this. And, I'm thinking, I'm beating everybody. I got this, blah, 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 blah. But also, I had a phenomenal coach and he believed in me, and having someone that believes in you really resonates, and I remember when I graduated from school, he was like, Laura, I will always be in your corner. I will always support you. And I'm so proud of you, for everything that you've done and everything that you've accomplished and overcame, to be in this role or be able to go to school. And, I think that a lot of people would have quit a long time ago, but you didn't have that quit inside of you, So I rode my bike. I rode my bike from Southwest Detroit, down Michigan Avenue to Trumbull, to Martin Luther King Boulevard, to Wayne State University. And back then it was Cass Corridor. It was not the nice Midtown that we see today. It was in the 90s.
For sure. Yeah,
and I was wearing a helmet, which was not cool. I'm sure you would have made fun of me, and that's okay, and I got splashed a lot, and it was early in the morning because I had to start swimming probably at about 5:30, 6 o'clock, which means I'm riding my bike at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, to get to school on time. But if I were to wait for the DOT, I would have lost my scholarship. There was no way I was going to get to school on time, and you couldn't depend on it,
determined.
And I'd go to school.
Because you didn't make no excuses. Like so many people make excuses for why they don't, why they didn't, why they don't have, why they didn't complete it, why they don't accomplish it, why they don't start it, because of this or that. It was the weather. I didn't have gas money. It was the car. And you were just like, man, I'm going to make it happen one way or the other, no matter what challenges or obstacles it may be. You were just determined to be successful,
Yeah, I was busting through. It was, if there was an obstacle or hurdle, it was just a decision. Am I going over it? Am I going under it? Am I going around it? Am I going through it? But I'm gonna get past this, and I had put on myself, no one else put this on me, but I had put on myself tasks, goals that I wanted to accomplish. And when I would accomplish it, I would reset and say, okay, now I need to do this, so it could have been, a time that I wanted to be in swimming, or it could have been a time that I was challenging myself, like how quick can I get to school, and I would give myself little challenges, but it was important to me to give myself these challenges. And I used to tell my colleagues, because I've, had quite a few jobs, but, I was in sales for quite some time. And I used to tell my colleagues that you have to treat everyone with respect and dignity. And I use this story all the time, is that when I would ride my bike, through Cass Corridor specifically, there were a lot of, I'd say probably maybe drug dealers, maybe, pimps. And there was a lot of prostitution at that time. And I remember driving through there and it'd be early and there'd be people out there that probably shouldn't have been out there. And there was this one individual and he would say hi to me. He would like, hey, what's up? I see you getting your knowledge, or, hit them books, girl, and every day he'd give me like some type of affirmation. And then one day I was riding my bike. I had packed an extra apple or something because, you're a broke college student. So you're packing all your lunch, you're not spending no money on anything. And so I had an extra apple and I tossed it to him, and he was like, thanks so much. And I was like, yeah, an apple a day, and so then every single day after that, every single day, every single time I drive by him, he'd be like, hey, leave her alone. Hey, she's going to be somebody. She's not going to end up like us. And every single day I knew I was protected. And I knew that because he wasn't going to let anything happen to me while I was in that area that he was in. I don't know his name. I don't know what got him to the position that he was in, being a person of the streets. But what I do know is that he saw something in me, just like Ms. Beavers, and he said, we're going to take care of her. We're going to make sure that she gets to school. We're not going to let nothing bad happen to her. And so, I'm appreciative to people like that. And so for me, I never, ever look down on anybody, whether it's their clothing or, lack of education or whatever it is, because I don't know what got them there. But what I do know is that he showed enough respect for me that he wasn't going to let anything bad happen to me, and so that means a lot. Yeah.
Because, so many people are predatorial and they can see the talent in you and they can see that, you have, all these, potentials, and then somehow they try to figure out how they can capitalize on it.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of pushing you to do this for yourself and, like you said, these reaffirmations, you know what I'm saying? Like to keep you positive, and people will just try to capitalize on it and try to utilize it, manipulate it to work in their favor, and everything. There was always some type of strings attached, and I think that's why so many people are disconnected today, and it's so hard for people to trust one another because there's so many people who just had hidden agendas, and it's great that you did have people who were encouraging you and seeing, your potential in you, and helped you cultivate it.
For sure.
And bring out the best in you because like they did a study at a college, and they had two plants and they spoke to one plant in a positive way and they spoke to the other plant in a negative way. And the plant that they spoke negative to, it withered away. And the plant that they spoke positive to, like it thrived and it was really growing and stuff like that. And, when you're young, man, you don't have that type of confidence, in yourself, and especially if you don't have the resources and you just, your mindset isn't there. You sometimes we came up with an impoverished mindset to think that maybe we're not capable. You know what I mean? And like I used to take rides when I was younger through like suburb cities, and I even though I felt out of place, I was a dreamer. I was like, man, I hope one day I get to own, a nice car or a nice home. And my godparents, they lived in Bloomfield Hills, and it was like anytime they disciplined my god brothers and sisters, like they would talk to them and they would punish them, put them in a corner, like give them a timeout and things like that. And I was just like, I was like, damn, why can't I be treated like that?
Right, yeah.
When I get in trouble, I get slapped, I get punched, I get punished, I get kicked out, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, what is the difference between them and us?
Yeah. I think that, I've said this a lot. So I don't know if I said it, my degree's in bilingual bicultural education. And so when I became a teacher, my goal was to teach in Southwest Detroit because I wanted to do what Ms. Beavers did for me for other Latinos, because when I was in school, everyone was like, why can't Juan learn? Well, because you got, Ms. Johnson trying to teach Juan English and she can't relate, So I was like, Laura Chavez is going to be that person that's going to help these kids, the graduation rate go higher, because they're going to have someone that relates to them and understands them. And, when you say representation matters, it truly does. And having that cultural connection is something that's really important as well. But I say all that to say, there's no degree or no certification that's required to become a parent, and these children, they don't choose their parents. They don't choose the household that they're going to be raised in. And a lot of times as parents, you have to understand you're that first educator of that child. You teach that child love. You teach that child how to respect other people. You teach that child how to navigate through things. You teach that child how to problem solve. And if you yourself don't have those skills, then you carry that on, right? And so I will definitely say, I'm a mom, and it's probably one of my proudest accomplishments to this day. And, you think about things that I've done or accolades that I've gotten, they're great. But there's nothing like being a mom to my beautiful son, Santino, who's 6'3", by the way, and Mexican. That's right, 6'3" and Mexican.
Okay.
And, he plays basketball. But the other part of that is I appreciate and I honor the time that I have with him. And I appreciate and I look forward to our drives to school. And I appreciate when he comes to me and he has a problem and he actually feels like he can open up to me because I'm his mom. And the other part is that he's a boy. And, you know, at a certain point, boys don't come to their mom anymore. And so I'm very thankful that we have that open type of relationship that we do have. But then in addition to that, you know, I just never wanted him to struggle the way that I struggled. And similar to you, you know, yes, I mean, honestly, all I knew was a beat down, you know, and that's unfortunate, right? Yeah. All I knew was if, you know, I lost my mom's comb, I'm about to be slaughtered, you know,
we inherited a lot of trauma from our parents, you know, because a lot of our parents were wounded warriors. They grew up in a different time, you know. I knew back then a lot of families were very big, you know, 9, 10, 12 kids. So it was hard for kids to get undivided attention or you know, unconditional love, you know what I'm saying? Because when you got 10, 12 kids, it's like your parents are just working and you guys are pretty much raising yourselves, you know. And my mom used to explain to me that, you know, when one got in trouble, everybody got whooped, you know. Yeah. So, so there was like a lot of trauma that I inherited through my mother, you know, even, you know, being raised with my father. Well, I mean, I wasn't raised with my father, but, you know, she used to talk about how my father used to beat her all the time, even when she was pregnant with me in her stomach. He'd be kicking her in the stomach and things like that. And then you hear that for the rest of your, you know, for the most of your life. And then I look just like my father. So a lot of times I think it would trigger my mom's trauma. You know, anytime I did something wrong, like my mom would like really go the extra mile to beat my ass. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd have to go to bed with a busted nose, a busted lip, and things like that. And it wasn't until later on in life, you know what I'm saying, that I realized that my mom was living with so much trauma, you know, and so many of our parents did, you know.
And they didn't go to therapy. You know, they didn't know that their, you know, mental health is a real thing, right? And now I think that we're in a generation where I think that we understand that mental health is something that we do really need to take care of, you know. And growing up in a household like that, and a household like I grew up, you know, I do go to therapy, and I encourage everyone to go to therapy. But also, you know, you live that life, but you have to understand that we have to also give them grace because they didn't have the skills that they needed to be the best that they possibly could. And so in my particular situation, I used all the examples that I had around me as adults, and I said, these are what I'm not going to do as a mom. This is what I'm not going to do as a parent. This is what I'm not going to ever let my child see in me, you know. And so it doesn't make me better than anyone, but these were tasks or goals or obligations that I put on myself. For example, I've never drank alcohol, right? Never, ever, nothing, never, zero, ever.
Wow,
yeah, I never,
amazing.
ever.
You're like a nun.
No, I'm not.
You're like
I'm
a
not,
nun.
I'm not.
Even Jesus drank wine.
No, I didn't. But see, growing up in a household where you saw your mom and her husband fighting every time they drank, that was a area where I said, I never want my child to see this. I never want my child, so I don't want to go there because guess what? I know that that's in me. So that craziness, it made me, right? So she made me, so I have some of that in me. And so I never want to get taken to that. So I can control what I consume.
That's right.
And so because I'm going to control what I can control, and I can control that I do not want to drink alcohol. So I'm never going to let my child see that in me, right? I've never taken drugs.
That is so dope. I'll tell you what, that is dope. Because it's important to do that kind of research, you know, your father's background, your mother's background, you know, what are the strengths, what are our weaknesses, you know, are there addictions? Like being aware of those types of things helps you manage your life, you know what I mean? Because say you're not addicted to drugs and you're not addicted to alcohol, but the addiction is in you. So you could be addicted to something, you know what I'm saying?
An addictive personality. Yeah. It could be anything, you know? And so, so I chose all of those examples to be what I was not going to be. And it's not to say that I love my mom. She's my mom, you know. I respect my mom. I honor my mom. I cherish my mom because she went through things that, you know, probably no one should have to go through, similar to what you were saying about your mom. But at the same time, her choices affected our life. And so when we were placed in foster care, it was because of the choices that she made that affected our life. And so some of the traumas that we endured were because of the choices that she made. And so I was 31 before I had my son. And so I chose, number one, to make sure that I had finished my education, but you never stop learning, right? So technically I didn't finish. I made the choice to make sure I had I owned my home.
Who
I made
taught
sure
you how to prioritize?
that I had, a vehicle, that I had stable income, and I said in my mind, because I gave myself these examples of, what do I consider to be a success? What do I think would be great, right? And it doesn't mean that it's for everybody, but for me, I gave myself these different examples of what I want to do. I even told myself, I said, through my 20s, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to travel, I'm going to go on vacation. I had a friend who was a stewardess for Northwest Airline. We traveled everywhere. My passport had all kinds of stamps, and I don't regret that, right? And so when it was time for me, to have my son, I was like, I'm ready. Like, I've had life experiences, I've done some
That's
things,
so dope.
and so
Yes.
I want to be. Now I'm cool with this. Like, I'm ready to be a mom, So I don't regret. There's no regrets, right? And I waited, and I made sure that I was responsible, And so I say all those things to say that, I was never the popular kid in school, and I,
Well, you're pretty popular now.
don't discredit anyone for being the popular kid in school, but in my situation, my brother was the popular guy in school. Everybody wanted to be like Mario. All the girls wanted to be with Mario, all that stuff. And he was really popular, and I was not at all, And so at that time, my brother went to prison at 16 and was charged as an adult, and, did 9.5 years incarcerated. And
Wow.
when and he went to Jackson prison as his quarantine. And so just thinking about a 16-year-old in what is that, maximum security prison, that's nowhere where a 16-year-old needs to be. But I say all that to say, I literally was on my own at 15. I had no backup. It was me, and I kept thinking, I have to make sure that I'm successful so that when Mario comes home, he has somewhere to land. I need to make sure that he gets an education. I need to make sure that he's set, because who's going to hire a convicted felon? Who's going to hire somebody who was convicted of murder? Who's going to hire that person, right? And so I put that responsibility on me. He didn't put it on me. No one put it on me. My mom didn't know what, but I put it on me. And I said, I have to have everything right. I have to dot all my I's, cross all my T's, put my Enya, I have to do it all right so that when he comes home, he doesn't struggle, because he doesn't need to struggle, and
But was he willing to accept that from you?
Oh yeah, me and my brother are super close. I made sure I built his credit up. He had a vehicle. He did really, really well, and
so he was ready for it. He was ready.
Oh
to
yeah, he
accept
took
it
his
and walk
yeah
that
he
and be guided into
he
something.
earned his degree, or he earned his heating and cooling license. So he was HVAC certified. He became
That's great.
the maintenance man for the Windsor Towers when he first came out of prison. But within 1 year of being home from prison, he was shot 7 times and became paralyzed. So, he said he has an advocacy program for youth right now, and it's called Think First. And he says, I was a prisoner in prison for 9.5 years. I came home for 1, and now I'm a prisoner to this chair. And it's choices that you make. And if you don't take the moment, the 60 seconds, the 30 seconds to pause and think first, it can affect the rest of your life,
Absolutely.
And, I'm not bragging about it or anything like that. When you have that jacket that says that you're somebody that's been incarcerated for, murder, whenever police approach you, they approach you thinking you're going to have a gun, or that you're,
Yes.
you're someone that,
I know the feeling.
they treat you like a criminal, even though you've already done what you needed to do. You served your time. And Mario is a huge advocate, and Mario's in a wheelchair now, and they've tried to pull him out. He's like, I'm in a wheelchair. Like I can't even get out of my car, let me at least get my chair, but I say all that to say, we've been through some things, me and my brother, my family, and people don't know that. And that's okay, because I do believe that all of these stories and all of these experience that I had, and I used to, when I was little and we were in foster care, I used to pray a lot. And I don't know if you pray or not, but
I do.
I used to pray a lot, and I was little, and I would say, Diosito, what did you really bring me here for? Because I know I wasn't brought here to suffer, right? Like, I'm little. I'm 3, I'm 4, I'm 5, I'm 6, I'm 7, I'm 8,
Mm-hmm.
So I know I was brought into this earth, or brought into this world for something, and it wasn't to suffer. And I was like, is this a test? Is it a challenge? Like, are you trying to see if I can face the next one? And I do believe that all of those tests, all of those challenges prepared me for where I am today.
Absolutely.
You know, and so
Absolutely.
when people say, "Oh, you look so pretty," or "Oh, I love that dress, you look so great, and your hair looks so nice," Laura, you know, that's just my armor.
Yeah.
Because underneath all that, this is a tried and tested warrior.
Yeah,
You know, it's been to
yeah, for
battle,
sure.
so many battles,
Yeah.
and I keep doing it over and over and over. And so again, when I'm sitting, you know, next to someone from corporate America or someone, a top executive somewhere, or, you know, and they you know, try to discredit or belittle or, you know, act like I don't know what I'm talking about, like, I can smile in your face and then I'm gonna cut you with my tongue, you know, because the reality is that you know, I've already faced so much more than you probably ever have in your lifetime. And I just look this way. Mm-hmm. And so God blessed me to be that, you know, that I look like I haven't done a lot or I haven't been through a lot. But that's obviously, for me, it's probably one of my strongest weapons, because they don't know what is inside of me. They don't know that drive. They don't know that determination. And so sometimes, you know, we were just at an event this weekend, and it was on the Riverwalk. And this woman said, "Man, I just love that you just don't give up." You know, he's just like, "I just love that you just don't give up," you know, and she was having a hard time like doing this thing or whatever. And I just kept doing it. And I didn't get frustrated. I didn't get upset. You know, I just was patient. I was like, "It's okay. We're going to get this. We're going to get this." And it was like, you know, probably 15, 20 times. Like most people, probably after 3, maybe 5 times, they're going to stop, you know, give up. Like for me, if I have a task, I'm going to do everything that I can to get to that finish line, you know? And I think that a lot of people kind of give up really quickly, or they give it a couple goes and then they're like, "Oh, it didn't work out. That wasn't for me," you know? But I think that, I'll say the people that, you know, that I work with at my organization, I have amazing people that work with me, and the work that I do, I could not do without them, you know? And
Are most of the people you worked with, are they from the community? Are they from the neighborhood? Are they from a little bit of everywhere?
It's a little bit of everywhere.
Okay.
So I'll tell you again, as an educator, I believe in uplifting our youth. I believe in empowering our youth to think. I believe in not telling them what to think, but allowing them to think. Yeah. And I think that it's really important, because that keeps me and my team on our toes. And that allows me to be fresh, to be innovative, to be able to say, you know what, I got this really smart kid here, or this really smart young person or youth, and they're ready. They're ready. And so I love young people. And I love the intersectionality, like of someone that has like a lot of experience, coming to the table with someone that's fresh and new at the table, and then kind of seeing them come together and have like these really good exchange of ideas. So yes, we have people from all over. I've been blessed, I'll say, with some of the people we recently hired, and you know, they have really great backgrounds and they're super young and they've already done some really cool things, you know. And
I love it because like us, like I never seen so many young people graduating the way that they do today. Like when I was young growing up, I don't remember nobody graduating, you know. We never did homecoming. We never did prom. Like, I mean, I dropped out of school in 9th grade, like just to see it though. Like it's
Were
part
you a
of
cool
the
kid?
culture.
You a cool kid?
I was.
You were a cool kid.
I was a troubled kid.
Yeah, but you were a cool kid. You were popular.
I was very popular.
Yeah.
You know,
I was not. I was not. And I finished school. I went all the way. But I say that to say, you know, I think you're right. I think they're, you know, especially in Southwest Detroit, you know, Western High School has had one of the highest graduating classes. Cesar Chavez, Cristo Rey, 100% college acceptance, you know. And so we have a community that's really doing things. And those are leaders.
Shout out to my godson, Omar Rivera, man. Congratulations. I'm proud of you, boy.
Yeah. And you know, they're going to be the next, they're the next generation of leaders, the next generation of CEOs, the next generation of the mayor, city council people, you know, and as we promote them and cultivate them and give them, you know, that boost and say, go ahead, fly, like allow them to fly. Don't hinder that, you know? And so for me, I think you're 100% correct. You know, we do have a much higher graduation rate. We do see a lot of beautiful people coming out of our community, and I love it when they come back, you know, so you go to school and then you come back and you want to do something amazing. And so similar, you know, I love Southwest Detroit, and I would tattoo that across my chest, and yeah, I'm Mexican, so I got a couple placas here and there, but I hide them, I keep them under wraps. But I say all that to say,
clean,
that's right. I say that to say, it's very important for us to make sure that we share what it is that we're trying to do, and then allow them to come back and do what they need to do. In every role that I've ever had, whether it was as an educator or an executive in banking, and now a CEO at SDBA, my goal is always to bring resources to Southwest Detroit. When I was an educator and I taught at an all-black school in Detroit Public Schools didn't put me in Southwest Detroit, where I thought I was going to automatically. It just made sense to me, but it didn't make sense to them, right? But my students, all black students, I learned so much from them, and they learned so much from me. And I started teaching at 20, so I graduated a year early from college, and they still reach out to me. So I started teaching at 20. My students were 16, 17 years old. They had no idea we're literally have a 4-year difference,
For real.
But I maintained very good classroom management, and I made sure that I was professional, but I also listened to them, and I gave them a place to come to if they needed that. And what I found as a teacher was it wasn't just about educating people or students. It was about listening to them and just being there, showing them compassion, And so
Were you the kind of teacher that always was pushing education? That was the only way you were going to ever be anything in life is with education?
So I will tell you, growing up the way that I grew up, I loved the bad kids. Not that I didn't love the good kids, because, obviously we love a child that doesn't disrupt and stuff like that. But give me your troubled kid. I would tell the English teacher, oh, he's giving you a problem. That's okay. Send him to my classroom, and I'd give them an assignment. I'd give them a task, or I'd give them a little thing to do. And then I'd praise them, because a lot of times the child that was disruptive or that was your problem child, they didn't have either love, or they didn't have someone that was showing them compassion, or they didn't have someone that just actually gave them let me give you some eye contact. Let me give you some, I'm here for you. I'm 100% right here. We're right here, And that meant so much. And I have this story. And if you follow me on LinkedIn or Facebook, you might see this student. His name is Martez Brooks. He's amazing. He owns his own production company called Cardiac Films. And he was the kid that all the teachers threw out. And they said, oh my God, he's not going to do anything. He's never going to do anything. He was my baby. That was my baby. I would take him in my classroom, and he was on 10. I'm not going to lie, but sure. I would say, don't put him on any medicine. I don't want him, please don't, he doesn't need that. Please don't do that, and I advocated for him so hard, because I saw my brother in him, I saw so many of my friends in him. And I could see other teachers were really ready to give up on him, but I never did. And he's amazing. His wife is a doctor, wow. And he's doing really cool things.
That's really good.
And he sent me this beautiful message. And, he's a black student that grew up close to Highland Park. I think it's 3rd Street over there. And he wrote this beautiful tribute to me, and it was a picture of us, and of course it was really cute. And it was when he graduated 8th grade, and he said, there were so many people that told me I would never accomplish anything, that I wouldn't even go to college, that I wouldn't graduate high school, that I was worthless, and that I couldn't do things, and they would kick me out of the class. He was like, there was this one teacher that loved me so much, and she would always boost me up no matter what. She was always there for me, whether she had chips and salsa, green grapes, a uniform tie that I needed for my uniform. She would always be there, and she'd just tell me, it's all right, you got this. This is only today. You're gonna get past this, And he was like, shout out to they called me Señorita Chavez back then. And my classroom was 313 also, so that was pretty dope. What? That was my room number, 313. And everyone wanted to be in 313, but and everyone wanted to be a Chavez child too. That was another part. But but I say all that to say, it warms my heart whenever my students, and they're grown, like I said, they were 4 years different from me sometimes, and so when I see them doing amazing things, and some of them will say beautiful things about me as their teacher, I know that, like I said, I was put here for some reason. And as a youth, a young child, I knew that there was a reason. And so whether it was to guide some of these students, whether it was, to find funding and resources to bring back to Southwest Detroit when I was, like I said, an executive in banking, or whether it was, during our previous presidential administration, when I had to be the best representation of our culture to corporate America in finance, right? Because they didn't see women, Latina women in general, as executives. There was not a lot of me in the boardroom, you know, and I'll be honest, a lot of people would dismiss me, or they would think that, you know, they could just talk any type of way to me because, you know, I'm new. I'm, you know, oh, she just got here because, you know, she's kind of pretty or something like that. But no, I worked really hard to get here. And so I formed the first employee relations group that was Latino led in that financial institution when they told me we couldn't. And so I've always been a believer of, please tell me what I can't do, because I'm going to show you.
And you use it as motivation.
And I think that that's really powerful to kind of turn that around. And I think that that's been something that's innate in me my whole life, right? And so when you ask me what drove me or what, it was all the negative, right? It was all the negative that I said, okay, that's cool. Let me reverse that on you, you know?
Yeah,
I see. And, you know,
even when we were talking earlier and I was telling you about the movie Scarface and how it impacted society, how it impacted our community, how everybody looked, and you was just like, I didn't look at it like that. I looked at it completely different. My ears went up like, you know what I'm saying?
Like there was drugs, Laura, you know, but you looked at the, you know, the idea of how can I succeed? You know, what are the means to which I need to succeed? What are the things that I can do in this great country, you know? And so, yes, there was drugs and all of that and violence, but there's also the fact that I think that as a culture, as Latinos, you know, we make it. We make it happen, you know? And so you give me, again, this bottle of water, you know, I'm going to make something amazing out of it, you know? And as a small child, you know, having my grandmother, like I said, I loved her dearly. Her name was Laura too. And, you know, she would make tortillas all the time, you know, homemade tortillas, which are the best, just so you know. Tortillas. And so she would throw me the scraps, you know, of the flour, you know, she'd throw me little scraps and I'd be over there.
Making
and
your own
little animals. I'd make farm animals with my toothpicks, or, you know, I have a whole ranch by the time she was done in the window, you know, but you know, you give me 3 strings, I'm gonna do like a braid, you know. So it was like I always found something to do with whatever scraps you gave me. So whatever you gave me that was people might have thought was throwaway, give it to me, because I'm gonna make something amazing out of it, you know.
Yes.
And so I think that you know, I just had I have been awarded, and I have been lucky, and I have been blessed, and I have had you know, guidance that boosted me and propelled me to say, like, give up was never even an option. You know, it's never been an option for me. And I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes in life, you know, and some of the tests that I thought were tests, I probably failed, you know, but that doesn't mean I didn't try again, right? Yeah. And so it's those lessons that you take, and what do you learn from those lessons? But
I suffered so much in my life. I mean, since childhood, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been through it all. I mean, by the time I was 9 years old, I was already admitted into a psych ward. It was called Aurora Hospital over there, Martin Luther King. You know, by then I had already experienced racism. I was already, you know, mentally distraught. I hated the color of my own skin. By then I had already been sexually abused. I had been through so much by the time I was 9 years old. And 15, I was in the juvenile system. By 22, I went to prison. And I was like, is this what my life was meant for? Is just to suffer, just to be beat up, you know what I'm saying, in every direction, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. And then, like, the outcome today, you know what I'm saying? Like, I walk like a giant. I walk with so much pride and dignity, because I know that it was not all for nothing. And because of the suffering that I endured, I'm able to connect and relate to so many people and be able to reach back and help them and connect with people, you know, and just it feels really, really good, you know, like, to know that you're here for a reason.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think, like I said, you know, as a young person in foster care, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, similar to yourself. I mean, I remember being in a foster care house, and this is a horrible story I'm about to tell you, but I'll tell you anyways. My first experience of racism was in foster care, and we were little. We didn't speak English, as I told you, and back then, again, you had black or white foster parents. There were no Latino foster parents in the 80s. And what got us there was my mom had a boyfriend, and he had flushed my head down the toilet, so much so that I had gone unconscious, and my brother was screaming up the vent to the lady in the apartment above us to help us. Well, my mom's boyfriend at the time had broke both of her arms, so she couldn't help us, so she couldn't protect us. And I was unconscious, probably beaten beyond recognition. I remember, we were taken to Children's Hospital, and I'm 3, right? And just swollen, right? And the social worker at the time, her name was Guadalupe Lara. Some of you might know her. She's still in Southwest Detroit. She's amazing. She's a Latina, beautiful, brown and black hair, and she always wore a flower, and I remember waking up from whatever it was, whether it was a coma or whatever, just beaten, senseless, and her saying, "Mija, no te preocupes, I'm here for you." And I was like, oh my God, it's a Mexican angel, because I'm little, like I'm seeing this beautiful brown woman, and I'd never seen that in a hospital setting that was like prestigious, and I had never seen that before, right? And I say all that to say, when we were placed into foster care, we had these particular parents that were American or Caucasian, and they had bought us saucer and a bowl and our own plasticware and a cup, and the father had put masking tape and put Laura on the bottom, Mario on the other, and Adela on the other. So we had our own colors. So mine were like orange, Mario's were yellow, Adela's were blue. And I was like, cool, we got our own stuff. We got our own plate, our own cup, our own whatever. Now, I didn't know what he was saying, but he said, we don't want to mix your spic germs with ours. Now, who knows what spic is when you're 3 and 4 years old, right? Not me. And so caseworkers would come to the house and check in on you and, do like a checkup. And I remember I was like taking my plate out because I'm proud of my plate because it has my name on it. I'm thinking it's kind of dope, right? And who doesn't like personalized stuff, right?
Yeah,
right.
customized.
Exactly. It was custom. Exactly. With masking tape, right? And so, I said, because I have spic germs. And so they immediately took us out of those houses, right? Because they knew that wasn't my words. I didn't even know what the word spic meant, right? And we were referred to as so many different derogative terms in those foster homes, And so we experienced racism. We experienced discrimination. We experienced abuse, further abuse than what took us to the foster care system in the first place, when you'd be put in those youth homes where all of you, like they wanted all 3 of us to bathe in the same bathtub at the same time. And, culturally, like I'm not supposed to see my brother's private parts, and so it was trauma that they were inflicting more and more and more, and so by the time, similar to you, when we had reached 8 years old, Mario's 10 and Adela 7, we had lived a full life of trauma,
Yes.
and there's
by
no
9 years
yeah,
old.
Yeah, and there's no healing that, and the reality is I did pray a lot, and I did try to spend time with my mind a lot, and I don't know that. And
you wonder if God's hearing you,
right?
Because you're still
getting beat up every day, having a black eye, busted lip. We slept with the Great Danes. We had one foster parent who was African American, and my sister would urinate on herself. We were little, and she would make a mistake and she'd urinate in bed. And she'd say, oh, you want to act like an animal, then you're going to sleep with the animal. And so she had 3 Great Danes, and we'd sleep on the outdoor porch with the Great Danes. And, Great Danes, when you're 4 and 5, are massive dogs. They're like horses, And I would tell her, Adela, it's like camping. Look at the stars, And I try to make it pretty for her. Like I try to make it beautiful.
You are so optimistic.
But I also knew that. And I would pray and I'd say like let these dogs keep us warm, let us like try to be safe, but that was our everyday life. Like every day it was, what are we about to go through? And I had to protect her because she was my little sister, and so I never had the opportunity for someone to protect me. And like I said, I'm in therapy still, and my therapist tells me, the inner Laura, the Laurita inside of you, she needs to know that someone cares enough about her to protect her too. Because you've done the protecting, you've done the advocating, you've done the hard work, you've done all that for everybody else. But you also need to give that little person inside of you permission to be a child. Permission to make a mistake, permission to play. Yes, yes. And I think that I just didn't have that, and so
I think sometimes that's why I feel like a big kid, because I was deprived of childhood. The childhood I remember was, very traumatic. So it's like I'm a big kid now. You know what I'm saying? At 45, I love having fun. I love carnivals. I mean, I'm like a big kid in a carnival. I want an elephant ear, all that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? But I'm glad that we made it, because everybody didn't make it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of, people who went through the same things we did and they still suffer from it. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's mental issues, addiction, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it may be, still living in them types of conditions. And it's sad and it's unfortunate. But, I just try to be an example that change is definitely possible and that, we have more power than we think that we do.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel powerless and hopeless, in their situations.
I think that anyone who grew up in Southwest Detroit in the 90s, I mean, we were warriors, It was drive-by shootings every day, chased by machetes, all kinds of stuff. And so, if you can make it through that war zone and be where we are today, I mean, that's an accomplishment.
And that's one thing that I want the youth to understand, what we had to go through, because I know, like, sometimes I feel like, they're very disconnected emotionally. Like, I feel like, they're offended by a lot of things, and it's like we had to grow up with tough skin. We had to have thick skin. We had to learn how to endure. You know what I'm saying? And that's just one of the things that I wish that the generation would kind of embrace. Is just understanding that the freedom that they have today is a privilege. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the things that we suffered from gives them the opportunity to, live the way that they live today.
And I think that's why it kind of circles back to one of my initial comments of resilience, right? We were forced to be resilient. We didn't choose to be resilient.
No.
And so when I hear that term, it almost makes me cringe because it shouldn't be that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, last year, Senate Theater, what was it, the Homeboy?
The Chicano Homeboy.
The Chicano Homeboy thing. You orchestrated that.
So I didn't. I'm not gonna lie. We were.
Well, it seemed like you did.
We were definitely instrumental.
You was running the show.
I was. So we were very instrumental in making sure that came to our community, and so Chicano. So it was Chicano History Week, and we really wanted to do something amazing for our community, and it would be beautiful for us to make our own Chicano History Week out of Michigan, right? In our community in Southwest Detroit, because that was their story from Los Angeles. And so we need to be able to make our own. But what I thought was just that piece for people to be able to see the pride in the, in the Pachucos, or the pride that our Latino community had to say, I'm going to dress this way, and I'm going to look this way, and I'm going to be proud, and I'm going to stand tall, and have this beautiful car and have this beautiful woman next to my side, But I say all that to say our culture, our legacy, our Mexican American heritage is something that we don't get taught in school. We're not taught to be proud of the people that came before us. And so you have to search that out, and so in college I did that. Obviously my brother incarcerated, he did that, but I say all that to say we need to tell our story. And so when that opportunity came to me, I was like, absolutely, this is not anything SDBA has ever done, but we're going to do it. So we did all the promotion. We made sure that we helped them do whatever they needed, and we're the touch base or the touch point. But it was a lot of different people that played a part in that. And I'm thankful for the role that I played in that. But I'm also looking forward to something that we can do that's based on the Michigan experience of Mexican Americans or Chicanos in our community.
I would love to be a part of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the Senate Theater. It's historical. It's a monument in Southwest Detroit.
It is.
I talk about it all the time. Like, I would love maybe partner up and do something for our community to put all of our talent on a platform. Something,
for sure.
You know what I mean?
And our history, don't let anyone else tell our history, and so that's something
people
that's
are good at that. Try to tell your story.
Yeah, and I'm not going to ever give anyone the autonomy to do that, and so I have a lot of ideas in this brain of mine, and obviously funding is always going to be a near and dear avenue, but in addition to that, we gotta make the right connections. We gotta nurture those relationships and show the relevance of why this needs to happen. And I think that again we have amazing leaders right now that are really and our legacy leaders, they did great work, and so it's time to activate for sure. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, the concert at what's it called, the new Central Station,
Michigan Central,
activated the shit out of me. I
Right?
was activated. I was excited.
I'm gonna tell you, Jack White was the man.
Jack White killed it.
Southwest
killed it.
pride.
He
Yes.
was my favorite performance.
Mine too.
I was like, holy smokes! I loved seeing Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
It was a privilege to see Diana Ross.
Yeah, right,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Like, I loved it, and I'm like, wow, this is all happening right here in my community in Southwest
and
Detroit.
we worked really hard to make sure that that Mexican Town Main Street corridor was activated. You know, we did the work. SDBA did. You know, my team, my street team, similar to the NFL draft. You know,
Yes.
we did a lot of work to make sure that we were included. But I will say, I'm very thankful that a lot of people at the Michigan Central train station, you know, and the Ford Foundation, said, what would you want if you were here? You know, and I was blessed to be able to select one of those people that was on stage. So one of the names that I nominated was Frank Solis, and he was the individual that brought Jack White up to the stage.
Yep.
And, you know, I don't take credit for it all, but I do say thank you for seeing me and saying, let me ask her, you know, and there's some leaders that would choose themselves, right? And there's a time when you say, let me put someone else on that platform. Let me put someone else on that stage. And I think that that's really important when we have these opportunities or given these opportunities, you know? And so I'm very thankful. And I'm with you 100%. I think my colleagues that were with me were like, I've never seen Jack White, but I'm a fan now, you know?
Yeah, I swear I've been looking up all his albums, music. I've been jamming to his music.
Yeah. But he's amazing. I've been a fan probably
Shout out
since
to Gabriel Duran, too.
Oh,
I
Gabriel,
seen him.
yeah.
I was like, damn, that's so dope.
I
to
screamed
see, you
like
know?
that. I think I had a sore throat. I was so proud of him and his mom, and seeing him and his mom. And I'm a mom of a son, so I was like, my son was there with me, and I said, Mijo,
Absolutely.
one day that'll be you and I up on that stage, you know. And as soon as the concert was over, I called Amelia right away, and I left her voicemail. I know she was super busy in the after party, but I was just like, you know, I'm so proud of you. Like, I love you. Like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud that you were up there, and you know, like, Southwest really showed up. And Southwest was given a platform to show up, you know? And so I think that respect is very important.
It's just like they said the tickets were like sold out within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was a disadvantage to people from the community from the outside looking in, because I was like, I didn't know anybody really who had tickets to this thing, you know? So I'm like, man, it's probably a bunch of corporate people who bought this and gave it to their employers and stuff like that, or their employees. And then it was like 6 o'clock. And Lex Zavala and Angia Reyes called me like, hey, do you want to go to this concert? I'm like, what? Man,
Say
my
less.
wife was because she loves Eminem. She's like Eminem's biggest fan. So she was like so excited to go there. To me, this was like a historical moment. I'm like, oh my goodness.
No doubt.
Like, I absolutely, like, yes, you know.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I almost even became emotional just because there was a time when nobody wanted to come to Detroit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We were the worst of the worst. We were the bottom of
And
the barrel.
remember,
And like,
you know,
everybody wants to be here
If you
now.
grew up in Southwest Detroit, you know, everyone talked about the train station in a very negative way, you know, and oh, that's dirty Southwest Detroit. You know, it's blight in Southwest Detroit. But now to see it glamorous and beautiful, now everyone wants to claim it. But it's always been our gem. It's always been our jewel,
Yeah.
you know.
I spray painted my
you know,
name in there a couple
you know,
times.
I mean,
so.
a lot of people, you know, skip school in there and stuff like that. But the thing is that was the gateway for so many of our families to come to Detroit, you know. And as I spoke about my great grandparents, you know, on my mom's side, that was how they got here, you know. And so that was the gateway for so many of the Mexicans that created Mexican Town, you know.
Yes.
And so when we talk about the history and the rich, you know, diversity that is in Southwest Detroit, like, that train station is so symbolic. And so I see it as so much more than just this blight, you know, and I'm so thankful that they put the money into it to make it, because it truly was going to take a miracle to see that come back to life, you know.
Definitely.
And I'm looking forward to being a part and being at the table for what's next for the train station and how that's going to impact our community, and making sure that, as I've said a million times, I've been quoted a million times in saying, we refuse to be casualties of development. We're going to be at the table every
That's
time,
right. That's
and we're going to make
I
sure
love that. God dang,
we're
that was powerful.
that we're going to make sure that our community is well represented. And honestly and truthfully, that concert was a true testament to that. And again,
Absolutely.
you know, I shout out to every person that had a small piece of it, but also, you know, I just gonna say it again. I love Jack White.
Yes.
You know, true
I
fan.
wish they would have had some mariachis there,
Yeah.
though, so I could have.
Well,
did
they
some
had
gritos.
they had the mariachi
The
feminal.
folklore-
They had the mariachi feminal. Yeah,
yes,
they
I
did.
seen it, but they were what at the because I heard there was an after party.
Yeah, so there was-
I'm gonna need a tour, man. Somebody got to give me a pass. I need a tour,
yeah.
man.
Well, put the word out, you know, and maybe we can help you with that.
That's
But yeah,
right.
you know, we were able to get a lot of our businesses tickets as well, you know, because, you know, the thought was, well, why don't they just give us tickets, you know? But we got to understand, we're not going to be ever given anything. And so you gotta make sure you know, put the effort in too, you know. But we were able to secure quite a few tickets for our business owners. We were able to, you know, make sure that, again, that crowd was diverse. You know, that crowd was we were in that crowd, you know, and you know,
Yes,
and
for
it was.
sure.
Yes, it was mixed. There were people that were not from Detroit, but it doesn't matter. There were a lot of Detroiters in
Yeah.
there, and so that
like
was
Big Sean said, we're not excluding, we're including.
Right, yeah.
And I loved when he said that. That was
Yeah.
very powerful. He was
Yeah.
like, we're not excluding, we're including. And I love diversity. You know,
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But when you come into our home, you come with respect. 'Cause when I come
Respect.
into your home, I come with respect.
that's right.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But listen, it's
It's
been
been great.
such a
Yeah.
privilege having you here. Thank you so much. I really look forward to building with you, putting our ideas on the table, watching
sure.
some things manifest. Big shout out to everybody. June 28th, Ecorse High School, we're having an expungement fair. June 27th, we'll be having a community healing circle at the Del Rey Center. So tap in for that. August 9th, we're going to be having a Stop the Violence community barbecue at 1211 Trumbull at the DHDC. We want to bring our community together and, you know, just celebrate life and, you know, remember our loved ones who have passed away, you know, who have been casualties of war in our community. But we love you. Make sure you tap in next Monday, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah. I'll do a little shout out too.
Yes,
Okay, all right, cool.
absolutely.
So obviously we have our famous walk-in Wednesday that we do at SDBA where we provide technical assistance for small businesses. We also have our youth program, Compas, Center of Music and Performing Arts Southwest. And, you know, our biggest fundraiser that we do for them every year is Run of the Dead. And we have opened up the registration for it where you run through Patton Park, Holy Cross Cemetery, and Woodmere Cemetery. It's going to be the 15th annual fundraiser for them. And so that program, we do it 100% free for the youth, 150 students, year-round programming,
Wow.
culture, art preservation that we do for these students, and they're doing amazing things. And so we really want the community and everyone to show up for these kids as well. And so all the proceeds go to Compas. In addition to that, you know, we want to really raise up our community as much as we can. And when you see us and you see something amazing in Southwest Detroit, our biggest campaign that we're running right now is Experience Southwest Detroit. So when you do something, say hypothetically, you know, you go to, see a beautiful mural, you take a picture of it, your selfie, hashtag Experience Southwest Detroit. We really want to make
That's
it be
dope. I like
a
it.
tourist
I like it.
destination so that people don't just go through our community, but actually stop and experience it. We want to ignite all five senses. So I don't want you just to
Ooh,
think
that's dope.
that
I
we're
love it.
that we're tacos and tequila. We're so much more. You know, we are a
yes.
thriving community that has beautiful historic designations as well as tourist attractions, amazing murals that have spoken for the unspoken for so long, and that has been the medium for which that we communicate. You know, and before it was popular in the city, Southwest was doing it. You know, and so I stand tall and I stand strong, and I'm always advocating. I want everyone to be proud to be from Southwest Detroit. So when you are there and you have a really great experience, hashtag Southwest Detroit or Experience Southwest Detroit. So happy to see us
There it
move
is.
forward.
There it is. You heard it from Laura Chavez. That's
Yeah.
the boss lady. See you guys next Monday, man. Much love.